Welcome back, it's the GameChanger. Today I'm very excited. We have a very different type of tutorial for you. We have a very loose texture curl pattern. The client, who should go unnamed, hasn't had a haircut in years. So I'm excited for this, and it's something different that I get to add to the bag to teach on. First things first, you want to comb the hair out. Obviously, you want to make it easier for the clippers to cut through. Even though we're cutting this hair off, we want to make sure that the roots aren't matted and the process is comfortable for the clippers and the client. All right, so like I said, with loose curl pattern hair, usually it's not as dense, it's not as thick. So what you have to be very careful, because I'm used to cutting thicker hair. So even though the method is the same, I'll show you, I don't change anything. I'm very careful, and I might start with larger guards because of how undense or lack of density that the hair is. Meaning, basically, I can see the roots very easily on this hair texture. It can make for a beautiful taper. It's just when the sun shines on certain parts of the scalp, depending on how you cut it, it may look like the fade is not as smooth. So you have to take that into account when you're doing this hair texture. Also, because this hair texture is very thin and a loose curl pattern, it can be kind of stringy, which means it can get caught in the clippers easily. So every few strokes, I kind of pull. If you notice right here, I pull some out. I'll lay it down. I'll take my time. I don't try to run through it. I like to be patient. The process is very important to just be patient with the process, right? You don't want to rush it. You don't want to be too aggressive because you can cause harm. You want this to be a very seamless transition, especially when the client hasn't had a haircut in a long time. They're not used to the process. You want to ease them back into it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm trying to see. Look, let me just walk you through the steps, right? I'll cut his hair down, and you'll see that his hair, the growth pattern is going to be all kind of different ways, right? It's going to look like he has multiple cowlicks. How do you neutralize that, right? How do you make this easier so that way when they leave out, it looks like they came in with the haircut they left with previously. You don't want it to look like they had a transformation, if that makes sense. Don't want to stumble over that. How do I do that? Usually, the best way to get the hair to revert is to wash, right? When you wash, condition, when you shampoo the hair and you comb it as you shampoo, when you comb it as you shampoo, what happens is you help the hair revert back to its natural state and to its natural growth pattern, meaning it'll lay like he's had a haircut every week for the past few years. Little tips like that actually helps the process easier. So watch, after I cut his hair out, you'll see me try to comb it. If I was to just go into my primary, secondary line and to fade the hair, what'll happen is it'll look kind of crazy, because look at how many different ways his hair is growing. It looks crazy right now. So like I said, the best way to neutralize that, a wash, a shampoo, and a condition, always, no matter the hair texture, make that process easy. So you all watch, and then I'll wash, and then I'll be back when it's time to walk you through the steps. If you have any questions, if I don't go over any points and you have any questions, please address them in the comment section, and I'll either walk you through it in the comments, or I'll try to do a similar video to readdress those processes. Trying to sound smart here. You see how the hair is just all over the place, even when I comb it, because it's so used to standing up from the root. When hair gets long, it grows up, then it lays down because of the weight of the length. All right, so you all watch, and I'll be back soon. All right, see now look at how much more manageable his hair texture is. See how now the water helps it lays in his natural growth pattern. It's all about hair manipulation. That's what you're doing with the clippers. You're manipulating the hair. It's a smooth process. Make it easy on yourself. So now we just have a regular haircut. Cutting his hair down to a 4. Right. So what you want to do is you want to comb the hair the way that it grows, and then you cut against that process. So it's not just up and down. If it grows to the side, I cut to the side. I want to flow with the scalp, flow with the hair texture, flow with the growth pattern. Very simple. And then I comb every few strokes. If you notice, I won't use a brush. You see how his hair looks kind of thin in certain parts? I'm very mindful of that when it's time for me to taper. All right, so now I'm just cutting his hair down to a 4, making sure it's nice and even. Very, very important. You want it to be nice and even, especially along the edge up where the hair can actually hang over the edge up. I'll repeat, manipulation. All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, so now what I do, it's time for a low taper in the back. What I do is, this is my process. Primary line is what I'm putting in now. That separates the hair from the skin. Secondary line, what you'll see is separates the light from the dark. The reason why I do that, the lighter the area, the easier to fade. I break the taper down into a 2 to 3 step process. Primary line, secondary line. Then you have primary section, secondary section. Very important because you don't want to just start fading. When you try to fade into thicker sections of hair, what happens, it's very difficult because it's hard to transition. A fade is basically how well can you transition from light to dark? If you try to go straight from very dark to really light, you'll get a bulky fade or it takes more time. So this is me putting a primary section in. When I break it down into more steps, into a simpler process, it makes it much easier to get a smooth transition. Not only that, I also notice areas of difficulty. Okay, maybe he has 2 or 3 growth patterns in the back. Now it's easier for me to tackle that when I break it down into a primary and secondary section. So now that I put that primary section in, which is what I'm fading now I blend that primary line in, which was the line that I put with my trimmers, if that makes sense, and not go back and rewatch. So now I'm blending that primary line into the primary section. I'm talking slow so you can understand me. And if you notice, let's watch me fade, right? I'm not aggressive on the clippers. My stroke pattern is very simple, it's very light, it's very smooth. I take my time. When I'm dealing with this hair texture, it's very easy to mess up, so I'm very patient. Now it's time to debulk this secondary section. What I'm doing when I debulk is I'm taking that area that's very dark. Remember, I cut his hair down to a 4, so the hair is very even. I want to blend into a 3, so I'll go 3, 2, 1.5. Now that secondary section and that secondary line that I'm working will lighten up. Remember, the lighter the area, the easier to fade. Every few strokes, what do? I use my comb to help manipulate or to relay their hair into the natural growth pattern. Does it make sense? Again, I'm very careful. If you see, so what I do is I'll dig in with the comb of that blade and then I'll fade away from the scalp. So I'll dig in and pull out. It's all about the wrist, right? Very smooth. I'm gonna be quiet now so you can watch my stroke movement. If I see anything I need to comment on, I'll come back. But the better you get with those wrists, see how I'm just stroking. Smooth strokes. Manipulation. Take your time. The best way to fade is to have a very smooth and silky wrist. If your wrist is stiff, the fade is stiff. If your wrist is smooth, the fade will be smooth. Next guard is the one. See you soon. All right, so now do you see why we debulked, right? So now it's time to blend these two sections together. I use my clippers no guard, right? Now I have the clippers detailed below in the description box. Now, the lighter the area, the easier to fade. I can use the corner of the clippers to lightly just etch and bring these two sections together, right? When you break this down into a multi-step process, like anything in life, it makes it so much easier. So much easier. What it also helps with, right, it limits or mitigates risk of gapping or messing the hair up. He has very thin hair. Well, in relation to what I'm used to dealing with, right? So when I use this process, what it helps me do is to take my time, and it kind of foolproofs me gapping them. All right, so debulk, then you blend the sections together. I'll be back when it's time for the next step. All right, so basically it's the same process on the sides. Just very careful. The dangerous part, I guess I do more of pointing out the dangers. Such a small workspace, right? And again, I stress, I see a lot of these tapers on this hair texture, and the issue is you can't get careless, right? Because of how thin how undense the hair is. Smooth strokes, patient strokes, debulk, and be mindful of your area. So what you want to do, you want to utilize the very corners of your clippers. What happens is when you use the corners of your clippers and not the full blade, you hit smaller areas at a time. And I apologize, my thumb is in the way, right? So when I hit smaller areas, it's like a focus group. I'm focusing on a certain spot when I'm fading versus me hitting a wide range of spots or a wide area. What this does is, again, it mitigates risk, right? If you look right above that secondary section, the hair looks thin. So when I debulk, I have to be careful because of density issues. It's thinner in the middle, it's thicker along the edges, and it's thicker and thinner behind the ear. Very careful, right? I know, and I'm purposely debulking a certain spot. So be intentful, right? Have intent when you debulk with this hair texture, because again, you don't want to hit an area and you hit a thin spot. So that's why I comb, right? I comb to respace the hair out, get behind the ear, and take my time. You all watch me work the area. I don't want to talk so much. I want you to watch me work. Watch my thumb placement. Watch my wrist movement. Watch my the way I stroke in certain areas, smaller stroke versus larger strokes, right? I'll be back soon. All right, so another form of debulking is clipper over comb. So if you notice, I'm doing clipper over comb. I pull away from the center of the scalp. If I pull it towards the crown of the head, I'll make the edges thinner, but I pull it out just to even them up. Take some bulk out, and sometimes their hair is longer, and the larger guards can't fit there. So I pull the comb away from the center of the scalp so that way it keeps the hair even and long in the front. So just want to hit that tibia, and also look again at using the corner of the clippers. And this is just my primary fade. After I put the edge up in, again, watch, see I'm pulling away from the scalp. If I pull towards the center of the head, what happens is those front edges are shorter, it can make the edge look funny. Just pulling away just to even everything up, debulk, take some of that bulk out, and get some of that mass off the front edge up. All right, so yeah, this is just my primary fade. See how different it looks? He has a cowlick in the front and his edges are a little thinner. Not worried about that. We'll take care of that when it's time. But yeah, I just want to get the fade in, then once I edge them up. So once you edge your client up, then you can see, oh, what do I need to fix? What do I need to touch up? It's called the finishing touches. Everything has steps. I'm gonna keep it far out, get a lot of that baby hair off the neck, and go at a nice angle, all right? I'll be back when it's time for the front edge up. All right, so now it's time for the good stuff, the edge up. First, I apply shaving gel, which I'm coming out with my own very soon. Actually in the lab being created right now. Now, so I saw in the ASMR version of this video, why would he use the blade like that when he could just use the edges? Let me tell you why, right? Why not use a bendable blade that curves, that you can manipulate to curve to the natural growth curvature of the edge up, for one. And for two, with this hair texture, sometimes the vibration of the clippers makes the hair run. So sometimes you find yourself pushing the edge up back. But this is me personal. I love the manual method, right? It works super smooth for me. That bendable blade literally helps me manipulate that edge up or manipulate that hair so I can cut it as natural as possible. Then I come back with the blade to get the baby hairs, to give it a nice clean finish, to help that edge up last even longer. So that's just me though. You know, like I love the razor over the edges because it helps you. It's a very manual method. I use my offhand, the left hand, you see my thumb, to pull the scalp the opposite way, tighten the skin up. The tighter the skin, the easier it is for that razor to glide across the skin. Hope that helped. And I'll come across the front with the edges, right? When you master all the tools, see now I'm coming with the edges too, corner of the blade. Truthfully, the more you practice with all these tools, the better you can manipulate the utensils, and you can utilize them all. I can use them all, but I practice with them all. So kind of sometimes step out of your comfort zone, try something new to excel your game and take yourself to the next level. Like I said, if you have any questions on anything I explained in this video, please let me know in the comments. I probably missed a few things. I'm trying not to over talk. Like, I don't know, you guys let me know, do you like the longer commentary videos where I talk more, or do you like watching me work more? What is your preference? I try to please everybody, which is not possible. So, you know, I want to know who prefers what, and I'll try to mix in a little bit of everything. I hope you enjoy. Please stick around for the before and after this video. Check out the ASMR video version of this video. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. GameChanger out. New video coming in like 2 or 3 days. I'm on it, y'all. I got like 7, 8 videos for y'all. Stay tuned.